Coffee is what keeps your girl going. Oh my gosh, I drink so much coffee. I drink so much coffee that for my birthday 2 years ago, Lizzie gifted me an entire coffee cart, which I use on a daily basis. It is my lifeblood, so I thought this would be a pretty good TIL of just learning about what I am putting so much of into my body, the history of it. Darren's gonna give us a bit of a science lesson later. I don't have that information for you because I'm sure that it would be alarming, but I do have some history. So pre-1000 AD, the Gala tribe in Ethiopia noticed that they got an energy boost when they ate coffee berries and they were ground up with animal fat. But it wasn't until 1000 AD that Arab traders brought coffee to their homeland, and then they started mixing the beans and drinking it with boiled water, and then that was the literal translation. They called it a kwawa, which I'm totally not pronouncing correctly, and that meant that which prevents sleep. So it was only about like 1,000 years later that they realized that you didn't have to eat the beans.
That's amazing. I love that. Like, so much time had to go in between from like Ethiopia to when those traders came for them to like, okay, maybe we should throughout the years.
But it got popularity remarkably quickly. Everyone who came into contact with coffee were
addicting.
Big fans. 1475, the world's first coffee shop, Kivahan, opened, and this was in Turkey. And Turkish law was established to allow a woman to divorce her husband if he fails to provide her with her daily quota of coffee. That's how addicted people were. This must have been some strong coffee too. I mean, because that gets you real, like you have to be really jonesing in order to say like, I will divorce you, I will leave you, and it will be legal.
Also, like I have to think, I mean, Darren's in here so she can correct me if I'm wrong, but like people's DNA may have been just like so much more pure back then to something like coffee, right? Right? No?
Well, I mean, maybe because they weren't exposed to
it. And I feel like people, like the people after, we've had generations upon generations who have had coffee.
So for example, my mother is a huge coffee drinker as well, and so I come by it very honestly. And I do sort of wonder genetically of how that affect, like both my parents drink coffee, but my mom, if she does not have her coffee in the morning, it is not pleasant for anyone. And I am unfortunately kind of the same way. So I wonder how much of that was passed down.
If you took a person from like 10,000 years ago and gave them this versus someone from today, like how
would it affect them?
Anyway.
So moving on to the 16th century, in 1511, the governor of Mecca, Karbeg, tried to ban coffee as he feared that its influence might promote the opposition to his rule, but the Sultan sent word that coffee was sacred and had the governor executed over coffee. I mean, that's some serious stuff. And then jumping ahead to the 17th century, in 1645, the first ever coffee house was established in Italy. So this sort of explains why Italian culture has some of the best coffee that you'll have, and some of the, I mean, like espresso, just black coffee, it is just so good. And you really can't, I don't think you can compare it to anything I've tried in the US, to be honest, because they've been doing it for longer. They just have more experience with coffee houses. And then in 1651, the first coffee house opened in England, so just about 10 years after the fact, and it was they were dubbed penny universities because one cup of coffee cost just 1 penny. Man, the good old days. I mean, other things were bad, but the coffee was good. And then we'll jump ahead to the 18th century, and this is a fun fact about Johann Sebastian Bach and how coffee influenced him. In 1732, Johann Sebastian Bach, the composer, composed his Kaffee Cantata. This piece of music was partly an ode to coffee and partly a challenge to the movement in Germany to prevent women from drinking coffee, as it was thought to make women sterile.
Coffee.
Yeah, the cantata includes the aria, and I almost want to sing this because the words are so good.
Don't stop.
Ah, how sweet coffee tastes, lovelier than 1,000 kisses, sweeter far than muscatel wine. I must have my coffee. And if that is not a jingle for Maxwell House soon, like why?
That's Bach.
That's Bach. He wrote that.
You got to sing it in German. It's really going to flow off the tongue if you do it in German.
Best. Oh, how sweet coffee tastes. Loves than 1,000 kisses.
Yeah.
Sweet as far than the muscatel wine.
That's very inappropriate.
Und I must have mine coffee. I'm sorry, that's an awful voice. But it is funny that like that was the first jingle. So it's like the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. But Bach was way ahead of that with and I must have mine sweet coffee taste.
Yeah. There you go.
And then let's jump ahead to 1920. As a result of prohibition in the United States, coffee sales boom. I just love thinking of like all those Great Gatsby parties. maybe it wasn't the prohibition of alcohol. Maybe they were just
first of all,
hyper
all
on
these coffee houses would also have booze under the table. And then you'd be like, yeah, I want some of that good cream. And they would be like,
oh, you're so right.
Of course, that's why. Like
I just assumed they were all honest coffee
Yeah, I
people.
know, you think like everyone, oh, prohibition, we're not drinking for 13 years. Like,
That is crazy. I want to do more. Next time I want to do a TIL on prohibition. What a crazy thing that the US did. They're like, no drinking. Just don't do it.
Go watch Boardwalk Empire.
I know, but it's also sort of like abstinence only. Like, yeah, that certainly works. And then 21st century, and this is where we can sort of wrap it up. In 2003, with more than 500 billion cups served worldwide annually, coffee is the most popular drink on planet Earth.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's also the most believable thing that you learn
Yeah, it's
today.
also like the most accessible drug on Earth that we can consume. And make no mistake, it's a drug,
No, it's
dude.
not.
It's like the one drug that we just allow everyone, like everywhere, to just take, and it's okay. You can have a Starbucks right around the corner. Dude, it gets you high. It gets you high.
And you know what? You're killing my buzz.
I sometimes wonder of like the societal impact that, I mean, I know it increases productivity, but at the same time, how does it affect things like road rage and just people being angry and stuff on any given day because they haven't had their coffee or they've had too much coffee and they don't realize like these feelings that they're going through is because of that. Seriously, we don't talk about it because it's such a big
and we're
industry.
not going to talk about it now.